Right. All right. Eileen, you still with us?
I will say goodbye then.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, team.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your time.
I will leave as well.
Right, so what we might do then is just jump back to the formal agenda. And in terms of order of business, are there any declarations of interest that need to be noted? No. None. Thank you, Eileen. So recorded. Item 5.1, minutes of the Tekapo Community Board meeting. There's two separate sets of minutes. The one was for the extraordinary meeting held on the 2nd of December, the other for the 8th. Can I just have somebody first move that the first set of minutes are accurate and correct?
Yes.
Okay, Sharon move and Carol second. The second set of minutes, 8th of December. Any corrections, additions or changes? Right, somebody move that please. Carol and Shaz second that. Eileen, you're okay there? You still with us?
Yes, thank you.
Right, so we'll move on to item 5.3, the Community Board Financial Report. And we'll take that report as read and just open it up for any questions. There was one, I think Chris just mentioned, on the township project, there's an amount of $760 for the car park island landscaping design. And it was just a question around what item of work that was.
I can respond to that, Mr. Chairman. It was just getting some design and documentation work just to clarify what we were doing with that little project for pricing by the contractors, which we've just sent off to get a price. So hopefully we'll get that underway in the next couple of months. Got the table ordered. So yeah, that was just some preliminary work on that one.
And the other question, just to confirm that unconfirmed carry forward amount, 33,000. Brian, that's the amount that is effectively subsidising or paying for the proposed bike stands, bike racks. Is that out of the township funding?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure about the carry forward because in my budget at the moment, it's still only showing the budget of $40,000, which is what I'm working to. There's no carry forward being confirmed, but that may be still a work in progress. Angela may be able to comment more on that, possibly.
So if I can just jump in, sorry, I think the carry forward was from the money that was unspent from last year.
Correct.
That'd be correct, but it's just not showing up on budget yet. So but
it may not. Yeah. Sorry, it may not come through until we finalise the annual report, I would imagine. So that it's imminent, but it's showing in these accounts, but maybe, Brian, not in the new accounts because basically we've just got to shut off last year's once the auditors agreed with it. So I think you can take it that it's there, even though it's not showing up in your accounts, your point.
Yep, sorry, I couldn't get my mouse to work, but you're absolutely right, David. It's probably because we're still in the final process of finalising everything.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Angela. So, Shaz, does that answer any questions you had in that space? Great. Any other questions on the financial reports? No. All right, so that report is received. We'll move then on to item 5.4. So Brian is the author of that report, and we'll take that report as read. And Brian, we'll just ask you to take us through that report, and we can just add any additional information and just deal with any matters as they come up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so as you possibly noticed, we've finally got started on the Malkatua Reserve works. So that we're hoping to have that finished around March or April, moving well, get that planted up. We've got an item in there about our public toilet projects, really just for information, so you can sort of see what's going on around the district. We're fairly pleased with the outcome in the proposal we got in Carpentry South using the Exelou toilets with some sort of reasonably innovative designs for the Pukaki Lookout and Fairleigh, and even for two down at Lake Ruataniwha. So if you've got any questions on those toilets, I'll move on.
Happy with that. That's fine. Yep, all good.
Next item's the bike stands, and so we had a walk around and identified a number of sites. There was a couple of extra sites decided were probably a bit more difficult at this point in time, but these are the sites that we can implement relatively easily. And there's a supplementary report which we sent through late yesterday, just regarding the pricing and the design style, which we just received. So we're looking at about 24 units of that sort of hoop style with an Alps to Ocean logo in the middle. For some reason, the designers, sign people added the words, which I don't think is necessary. And then we've got some installation costs, which are, I don't really know, but a very rough estimate of about $9,000, I'm thinking, which gives us a budget of to work towards around 20,000 total cost to have those installed. And in that report, I was suggesting we approval, I guess, for that budget from the township account, which we were just discussing. Has a budget of $40,000 plus potentially another carryover of 33. So, and not much else committed at the moment, other than a little landscaping work on that island, which might be around $6,000 to sort of $8,000 worth, but hopefully not that much. But those are the two projects at the moment. So, if you've got any questions or comments on that particular item. Maybe the other question is colour. There's a few options there. Surprisingly, stainless steel is the cheapest, which I'm a bit surprised about, but yeah.
They actually did say the cost is actually going to be the same for the stainless steel as well as the black finish. But then there is actually an additional cost if we wanted to powder coat. The racks are going to be an extra $95 per unit. So
I think the discussions we've had, yes, the Alps to Ocean design without the wording, and yes to stainless steel.
Yeah.
Yep. And Matt shared that as well, to catch up with Matt. In terms of the locations, Carol, was there a comment?
We're all happy with all of them, except there's some more discussion to be had around the lane by the bakery, which, has Chris already discussed that with you, Brian?
No, that was one I actually had in mind that would probably need to investigate that one a little bit further, which I haven't yet, in terms of just clarifying the ownership of the land through there, and maybe talk to a couple of the shops and things, so the roading people, yeah.
So our feeling would be that they need to be on the left-hand side of the lane underneath the heat pump unit, but we think that you need to discuss that with Jane.
So Jane's in the
Greedy
cow. Sorry?
And the greedy cow owns the greedy cow.
Okay, greedy cow. Okay, all right. Yes, I thought that at the time when we did the walk, so we'll follow. Just double confirm that one.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Brian, for your work on this.
Yes.
So, just in terms of an understanding, in terms of timing, when do you anticipate this item of work will be completed?
We'll pretty much get on with it straight away. Put the order for the hoops in. Maybe not tomorrow, but Monday or the next few days. So and get that underway and make arrangements for the installation. Yeah. So next month. They didn't give you any indication of time frame, Tom, did they?
Tom, you muted.
I think they did. I'll just have a look into it. I'll just go back through my emails if you give me a moment.
Just while Tom's doing that, Arlene, do you need a resolution or anything recorded on this, or is it just?
I did have a recommendation just for the agreement around the use of the budget, which is, yep.
Yes, there's a recommendation. Hopefully you can see it on your screen. It's that the Urban Effects Hoop Bike Stands design with Alps to Ocean logo insert be approved, and that bike stands purchase and installation be funded from the township projects budget with an estimated cost of $20,000.
Can we just put that it's stainless steel? Can we just add, Arlene, that it's to be in stainless steel finish, please?
Mm-hmm. I'll add that.
Thank you. Tom, did you have anything to add to that?
Still just trying to track down the dates.
Right, okay. So Eileen, what we'll do is we'll move that in, and I'm happy to move that. And can we get a seconder, Carol? And thank you, Brian. That's a great item of work, and I think we all look forward to that. It'd be great.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, apologies, it's taken a wee while to make it happen, but now I've got Tom on board and start getting a few things done. That's a bit of help. Yep.
That's excellent.
Awesome visual.
The next item is the artwork donation, which had this very generous offer of the artwork, which I believe the community board have probably looked at and discussed a little bit as well. So just wanted to confirm acceptance of that, and then confirm how we sort out the location, which I imagine you want to. There's also a question come up about the plaque, which visitors would put a wee plaque there. I clarified that they did want their names recognised as the donors, and we might, then I was thinking we'd have a little bit about the artwork, particularly on a plaque. And then the question came up who would fund that. I did envisage that we would probably fund the provision and installation of the wee plaque. Yeah, any comments, questions, thoughts on this one?
So, Brian, I think you may have seen the email from Prue earlier today, just proposing the suggested location, and again, suggesting that you'd be happy to acquire a quotation for us for the plaque. So I've asked her to get that quotation and send that through to you. And in terms of the location, has everybody had a look at that? Are there any thoughts or suggestions?
Somewhere on Blackfoot.
Eileen, are you able to share that document? It's
very close to the picnic bench.
Oh, maybe Eileen hasn't actually got that. So it's very close to the existing Lake Tekapo picnic bench.
I don't think I have that document, sorry.
Oh, Brian, have you got that document in front of you?
No, I haven't seen that either.
Okay.
We put a recommendation
yeah.
into the report, into my report, that we just finalise that between yourself and myself, and then we can involve the other community board members as appropriate. We can leave it at that for the moment if you want to.
No, thank you.
Stuff you wish to move that recommendation.
Yeah, so Eileen, we can just record that we will accept and move. So I'm happy to accept and move that. And can I get a seconder?
Yeah.
Subject to the final locations we confirmed. Yep, that's in the recommendation. Thanks. So I'll move that, and Sharon will second that. Done.
Next item's Lions Corner Reserve Bank. We've now sort of started doing the maintenance with that, with the maintenance contract of Whitestone, and they've identified there's quite a concern about trying to maintain the steep bank that kind of goes right down onto the road. So we've had a bit of a look at that with the contractor. Their suggestion was we could terrace it relatively simply. We'd have to probably move a couple of trees at the top to give us that space. And I couldn't think of a better solution other than planting it, but we've still got the same sort of maintenance issue to try and weed it and plant it. So I just wondered if you community board had any thoughts on that proposal or other possible solutions.
So Brian, would the safety concerns be around the use of a ride-on mower? Is that?
No, they couldn't. No, it's a very steep bank, and it's grassed at the moment, so they'd just have to use weed eaters. They're trying to use weed, but just walking on it's like impossible just about. They were really maintaining it before, but obviously Whitestone need to be more diligent about the health and safety than volunteer groups do, so they've sort of picked up on this as an issue for their staff. They just injure or fall down onto the road, and so it is a bit of a difficult one that we should address in some way to make it easier to maintain without sort of a major cost of retaining walls or other things like that. But a simple embankment through the middle would allow them to maintain it from sort of two heights effectively.
Brian, Carol and I just had a look at that site. We're not quite sure what their concerns are. That area, which is grass, is the area in Barbara Hay is double the gradient that is, and that has to be weed eated in between the gardens that have been planted out. So we're a bit confused as to why Whitestone should think that that's a hazard. I guess the concern is if we start planting things, we have the same issue that we already have in Barbara Hay, and that there's no water, there's no access to water. So you start planting things and we run the risk that they're all going to die because there's no irrigation. And the Barbara Hay plants are being irrigated by a local homeowner at the moment, and that's why they're surviving. If we plant new plants there and there's no water to it, you know, and that's a very visible site. So we're a bit confused as to why Whitestone think that that's too steep.
Yeah, fair point. I would have thought it was steeper than the Barbara Hay, but I guess it does get quite steep up the top there. But it's possibly the fact that they can fall down directly onto the road. It's probably their concern.
The good news is there's slow moving traffic there now.
Sorry. So I guess they could at least vacate the road, but it wouldn't stop them falling down unless they sort of got a harness or thing. But as I say, they do need to be a lot more diligent about their health and safety, and they've raised that with us. So I think it is I believe it's a valid concern which we need to address in some way.
It's definitely, I mean, I think there is an internal issue there because I've cited staff spraying with no PPE on. So there's obviously, as you say, is an internal kick to make sure that the health and safety is compliant. Yeah.
So Brian, can I suggest that during your next visit to Tekapo, we just do a site visit?
Help us understand.
Just to help us understand, and then we can possibly come up with a solution that's fit for purpose.
Okay.
Steve, can I just ask my apologies to be recorded? I've just been called into another urgent meeting, so I'm just going to excuse myself.
Thank you, Angela. All the best. Apologies.
Sorry for that.
Right. Thank you, Brian.
Lakefront path development. Often the school's working on procurement documentation, so hopefully we'll get that underway soon and start to see things happening. Kind of guessing April approximately. Hopefully we'll see some action. Ideally, with the concrete laying, we'd want to get that done before the winter cold sets in. So yeah, ideal for completion by June.
Brian, can we get visibility of that document just before it's sent out for tender?
Yep, I can just confirm the final design plans that we've put together, but there shouldn't really be any changes from what we've seen already, but certainly want to get that back from Boffers. I can circulate that.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, well, it's already come up, the little Western Car Park island landscaping we're working on, using the wood and steel Mountain View picnic tables. I think we've circulated, didn't I, around what they look like. And they're similar to the ones we discovered that they've been recently putting into the regional park, and a number of other councils are using them. So quite a good solid timber one. It's quite comfortable as well, because I happen to have one installed near my place at home. When I spotted them, I thought, well, that's a nice looking seat and it's nice and comfortable. So yeah, we'll run with those. And then I think the final item is the Tekapo Hall, just to note that that's been completed, and particular thanks to Carol and Chrissy Rhodes. So not sure if we can give something to Chrissy for her efforts. It was obviously quite a substantial amount of time, but I'm not quite sure how we might go about that.
Very good idea. Yeah, perhaps we can organise it within.
What sort of thing?
We'll take a little community board. Yep, good thinking.
Thanks, Brian.
We still had to discuss the custodian role, but Tom.
Yes, well, sort of as I mentioned, we haven't made much progress with that, but as I mentioned, we have a possibility. You responded would be a good choice, so that's good to know, but I haven't met him yet myself, so still to be progressed that one, but you now got a possibility, so that's to do something there.
Very good.
Our radar.
Yeah.
Back to a delivery date for the racks. I couldn't actually find anything in my emails. It must have been for another quote that I was looking at. So yeah, I'll get back to you with that once I know.
Thank you, Tom. Right, so any questions on Brian's report? Anything else?
No,
so thank you, Brian. Excellent. Great to see so many things happening. So thanks for the incredible effort there. 5.5, engineering managers update. So massive welcome to Joni. I've had the privilege of meeting Joni a couple of weeks ago. So Joni, welcome to the team, and the Tekapo Community Board certainly look forward to working with you. Also from our side, a massive thank you for the work that's gone into preparing the report. For some time, the Tekapo Community Board has asked for visibility of a number of things happening in and around the community and the township, and it's just great to see this kind of level of communication. So thank you for version 1, which no doubt will grow over time. So thank you. So what I might do is just take that report as read and just hand the floor over to you, Joni, just to talk to your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it's nice to meet the rest of the board. Yes, we would like to start giving you more visibility of what the engineering department does in the world of Three Waters and roading. Three Waters especially is generally an invisible kind of project for you guys unless we're doing construction or something, but let's just go through this and please help me refine it to suit your needs or what you'd like to know about as a community board. So under water supply, I'm just briefly stating that water is going well. We're meeting all of our quality standards, no issues. There is a note here that we're seeing unusually high water per person being used, even taking into account the seasonal fluctuations and the visitors. So that's up to us to try and do a little bit of detective work there and see what's happening, if it's irrigation or we just don't know. But I just wanted to make a note that we're aware of that, and to be responsible to you guys, we need to do a little work investigating that. Where's our water going? We're starting a water main replacement project. This is one of the items that we got stimulus funding for as the first COVID response. And so it's going to be on Orangi Crescent. And I think they've just started that project, and they're thinking it might last about 2 months of what you'll see in terms of disruption to the road and that sort of thing. But essential for us to keep our assets in good shape. We'll move on to wastewater. And again, we had ECAN comes out to check that we are meeting our resource consent. They found some minor concerns, which we're addressing and preparing an official response back. Nothing that is of note, really. This next bullet, I did not realize GHD would be meeting to tell you all about this. So I will just pass right on, go to the next item. We've undertaken a desludging project of all 3 towns, the wastewater treatment plant ponds. We started in January in Tekapo, and they should be wrapping up shortly. I don't know the exact date that they're finishing, but that gives us additional, we're not sure which option we're going into and how soon that will happen, but in the meantime, we'll have a better pond system to be working from. Stormwater, again, working with ECAN and our resource consent on this, we realized we were way out of date with what information we had been giving them about our stormwater system. So we're preparing an updated plan, just showing them where everything is and reassuring them that we're taking good care of the environment with respect to our stormwater runoff. Those are my 3 water topics I thought the community board might want to hear about. And then we'll go into some roading problems or issues, not problems. Speed limits, we've got, I didn't mention the 2 roads there, Lakeside Drive and Pioneer Drive. I believe we've put 30-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on there. We don't actually have the authority to do that for those roads. We do think that's the appropriate speed limit. I don't want to say that it's not, but Waka Kotahi is just ready to roll out a new process by which communities councils can recommend changes for speed limits. It was quite cumbersome in the past, and they recognize that, and they're putting together a new process. And so we will take advantage of the new process and recommend that the speed limit be officially changed from 50 to 30 on those 2 roads. I guess I would open it up to the community board if you had other roads that you felt were not being we're at too high of a level. I think roads in the township on the north side of State Highway 8 and Lilybank Road as it passes through the regional park were two that we thought of, two areas, but certainly whatever the community might want to see, we could certainly work with that as well.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that Joni did me kilometres per hour, not miles per hour.
Oh,
just,
oh God, I love it.
So yeah, basically it's going to be, it's a bit confusing when Waka Kotahi puts all these adverts on TV that they're doing these big, huge speed limit renewals, and they basically haven't supplied the new updated methodology. I just think their adverts are leading the expectation of the community slightly ahead of the reality. We're hoping that we'll get the details in March.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Sorry about that. The Americanism slips through now and again. I've been in the country 5 years. You'd think I would have learned it by now. Okay, so then we've got the Lake Tekapo School and the safety improvements. I believe that's all done because we were under the requirement to get it done before the school year started. So we did some upgrades around there, and any questions I can probably answer on that one if you had.
Yeah,
and
I
then
think work in progress, so it's not quite there.
It's not quite.
You're right, still close.
Okay, and then the last item was the one where I did get to meet the chairman, CCTV surveillance system. We sat down to discuss the project. We have gotten funding for what we're calling a stage 1, which would probably be a 3-stage project to install the recorder and the first 2 cameras, possibly 3 cameras. So currently, the goal for that is a June 30th installation and operation date. And I'm getting, we had an older quote for the prices, and I'm working with the company to give us an update on that. And so this looks like this will be ready to start as soon as we can get some quotes back from them and go ahead. But we went over the thought behind it, and seems like the cameras have been well placed, and an ability to expand the system is also going to be important for us as well. And I think those considerations were met with the map.
Tony, just to let you know, if you didn't know, we've had in the last 2 weeks vandalism, and we've had vehicles broken into, and we've had 2 vehicles with fuel siphoned out. So the CCTV cameras, if they were put where we propose them to be put, would have picked up potentially information that would have helped the police.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, so the sooner we can get them in, the better. Well said. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's all I have for you guys, and I'm happy if you want to send me any comments of what you'd like to see, or if there's enough here or maybe too much. Not sure what the group wants to hear.
Joni, sorry, can I ask about the car park signage? We still have major issues with that area. The entry and no entry signs really aren't doing anything. They're not big enough, and they're not explaining at all where people are to come in and out. People are still parking right in where the exit and the entry is, because they can't see it because it's been gravelled over. So we have got major issues in that area.
Yeah, I apologize. That was one of the things I wanted to share with you guys, and somehow I left it off on this final report. I think if it's all right with you, as you mentioned earlier, could we perhaps do a meeting on site to discuss this? We have some reasons of why we did what we did, to minimize damage to a freestanding pole and so on. But certainly, I think it might be useful if we all walked around the site at 2 meters distance and with masks, to kind of get a better feel and see if there is an improvement that council could make with our signage. So yes, sure.
Yes, thank you, Joni. Let's do that. And at the same time, we can also possibly continue the conversation around the road markings as well.
Oh yeah, the road. Thank you for that. The road markings. I think you're aware of what happened. When we get the high temperatures, the asphalt has what we call bleeding, and we lay down just some loose chip on that to kind of, make it easy to get traction and everything the drivers need, but we end up covering up our own markings. So we're aware that they're not in good shape when we're through the threat of the bleeding and the high temperatures. We do plan to remark that.
Can we just make the point, please, that this happens during our peak influx of visitors during the winter when the grit's applied, and it happens during our peak influx of visitors during the summer when the tar melts and grit's applied. And the car park it's just so many accidents waiting to happen. It's a complete disaster. So we really need to rethink it altogether and how we manage it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point that it's happening during peak seasons. Yep, we can take that back and see what we can come up with our roading manager. But let's meet on site and talk about the signage, and then maybe we can have a conversation as well about the ability to keep the road markings visible throughout the year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joni. Anything else for Joni? Right, so thank you for that. We'll move on to item 5.6 on page 36. Thank you, Mark, for your work on this, and thank you for attending the meeting. So what I might just do is hand the floor over to Mark to talk to this report. I understand it's obviously just for information at this stage, but Mark, maybe you could just provide us with some context and an idea of timeframes.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman. So just a little bit of context, Timaru, Mackenzie and Waimate District Councils in 2016 adopted a combined local alcohol policy. The administration of alcohol-related licenses, alcohol-related manager certificates, etc., is contracted by both Waimate and Mackenzie to Timaru District Council. So it allows for a centralised response, and therefore it should be relatively consistent. So to help that consistency, so that one area isn't operating outside of the other areas, they've gone for this combined policy. Mayor Graham sits on the actual committee itself. The paper that's in front of you is actually proposing a second committee to look at the new policy as it's due for renewal, if you like. It's got roughly about a 5-year, 6-year time frame. So it was adopted in 2016, so it's due for renewal now. The legal advice has said that the sitting committee members shouldn't be on the review committee. So I understand from conversation with Mayor Graham that there are 2 current MDC councillors who have been appointed to that committee, and they were due to meet on the 8th of February, but I've got an email from Paul Cooper, the environmental manager for Timaru District Council, advising that due to COVID and everything else, that meeting has been postponed. The advantages of the LAP is that consistency, so that all the areas are treated the same, and what they're after is initial feedback from the community as to any issues or anything that the community is concerned about that perhaps council are unaware of. Contributing to the report is that Community Public Health, New Zealand Police and Council. We've run into a slight problem because of COVID with Community and Public Health. Their resources, as you can imagine, have been deferred to try and deal with the COVID outbreak. So we're not sure what information we may get from them or when we will get it, or the committee. And likewise, the police have been asked for some statistics, and they're in the process of producing those statistics in a way that for one another lay people can understand. Just some of I believe that there should be a copy of the current local alcohol policy there for you, just to sort of see, like for instance, licensing hours may come into account for you guys when the tavern opens, about the one-way door policy, where they, I think it's after 2 o'clock, if there's more than 100 people in the licensed premise, basically once you leave after 2, you can't get back in. And it's a way of trying to reduce alcohol-related harm, which is the whole reason for this policy. So it's really the initial stages of getting feedback, which will then feed back into the committee, and then they will look at preparing a new policy for the 3 councils. Mackenzie District Council has indicated a desire, and I'm sure Mayor Graham will speak to this, to work with the other 2 councils to try and maintain a 3-way local alcohol policy for the 3 council areas. So on that point, Mayor Graham, did you want to jump in? And
thank you, Mark. I'm not going to say a lot, except to say that I think our joint LAP policy works really well between the councils, the neighbouring councils. It's a consistent policy across South Canterbury. It's all about education with alcohol. We initially had a few issues around applying for a consent to serve alcohol the day before you wanted to use it. It has to go through a process. It has to, the police look at it, the health department look at it, and we look at the credibility of the organisation that's wanting to use this consent. And so in order to be able to put those things in place, there is, I think, is a 20 working days before they can issue a consent. So that was one of the things that we've gone with. The other thing has been the closing time of supermarkets at 7 o'clock on the sale. Is it 7 or 9? I'm not too sure which. 7, I think, as far as supermarkets concerned. And we did get quite a kickback from the supermarkets. But our advice was that the police were particularly concerned about the young people that stoked up in the supermarket late at night and then caused trouble further downtown. So it's all about how we manage our alcohol. So Councillor Murphy and Councillor Cox will sit and take information if you guys want to feed something in. But as Mayor, my recommendation is that we leave things much the same. Thanks, Mark. Happy to answer any other questions.
Thanks, Mayor. And that's basically all I want to say, Mr. Chairman, about it. Happy to answer any questions, like same as the Mayor, if you've got any concerns about anything.
Thank you, Mark. That's pretty good. And we will feed any comments back via Matt and Murray as well for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, moving on to item 5.7, general business and council update. The general business, I think we've dealt to in terms of the concerns around safety, signage and road markings, so we've dealt to that. Matt's not online, but I see Murray is online. Maz, welcome to the meeting, good to see you. Just wondering if you'd like to speak to any business or any update from a councillor perspective.
I wasn't sure whether one thing that's not on the community board this time, and it probably will be next time, but we have started to have an election update report for the coming elections. So I wasn't sure whether, well, I know we've got Arlene there, as to whether, because that time frame is now starting to be settled, and also there is a change of representation for Tekapo. So I presume at some stage Chris or Arlene will give a rundown of that election time frame and what's happening there.
I'm happy to bring that to the next meeting if you'd like. There's nothing urgent to address this time. Yeah.
It could just be quite good, I think, for the community boards to have all those dates as well in terms of what's happening. But
yeah, so we've got those dates. I've seen those come through, and we've got, I think Arlene's actually even sent through a meeting invite. But Arlene, that'll be great for the next meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But no, otherwise it's you've had your updates from the treatment plants and the 3 waters and things like that. So yeah, it's really getting back into this year, and obviously one of the big things I think will be that community all that community work which, you know, sort of got put back with the, you know, the strategy being updated last year, and now hopefully this year we can work on what projects. Yeah. So nothing else.
Community sports facility. Yep. So Maz, you're referring to the proposed community sports facility.
Yeah, and also any other projects. Obviously, a lot of projects got left out of the long-term plan, but they would have come forward, and obviously there was some work to be done around the land subdivision reserve fund and what money's in that and who gets that and things like that. So hopefully we'll see that this year.
Thanks, Maz.
Just on the community facilities, we are having discussions between myself, Tom and Brian about how we proceed with that project. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but we've had a whole pile of other projects on, and Christmas and COVID and a wide range of other things. So it is on our program, but yes, haven't progressed that one as yet, but we do know it's there.
Through Mr. Chair, David, just to give you an update, tomorrow there are about 5 to 6 members of the community that will be meeting to look at the possibility of setting up a sports trust. And once we decide on the objectives and create the formal part of that, then we'll obviously come to the council and you know, explain what we've done and what we want to do, our objectives and aims for that trust.
That sounds really good, because I think if we can get a community-driven support, you know, we're actually going to go ahead united rather than sort of us trying to decide and go where. So that sounds positive. I don't know, Tom or Brian, whether you want to make any comments on that.
Just going to say, like, I've got a few contacts in Sport Canterbury I could link you with who would definitely want to be involved. So I mean, just flick me an email and I can actually link you with the right people. We've also got contacts with Sport Twizel as well, which could also be helpful in setting up some stuff there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I wonder whether Graham wanted to update on COVID and on district plan review and a few other things. I don't know, Graham, whether you wanted to, since you're there.
I can update, and as a council, we've been quite concerned about the event of COVID and how it will affect the services. Council staff have kind of divided into 2. So I won't call it an A team and a B team, but it is number 1 and number 2, I suppose. And it's sort of kind of 10 days in and 10 days out. We're concerned we're in sort of one bubble, you might say. So if one of us gets affected, the rest of us have to isolate for 10 days. So it's problematic. So we realise we need to be resilient. We realise that we have services to maintain to our district, water and sewage and waste, all that sort of stuff has to go on. So we're trying to mitigate as much as possible to be able to manage if we have COVID go through. In the meantime, the building's open, but it's only open to council staff to come in and out. We're trying to manage things. It's masks on all the time, except if I'm on my own in the office. So I'm allowed my mask off, but if I go out of here, it has to be on. So basically, that's how we're trying to manage COVID at the moment. Don't know. I think the sooner it comes, the sooner it goes through, the sooner we learn to live with it, manage it, the better. But in the meantime, it's quite frustrating and is causing a lot of anxiety throughout our community. I've got a meeting tomorrow or the next day, maybe Friday, as regards volunteers and how we roll out and manage with the Ministry of Social Development and the DHB if we do have quite a bad case with people isolating in our own towns. So there's quite a bit of work to be done on that too. I just want to say, as far as council's concerned, we did get a lot of money through the Three Waters funding infrastructure. It has to be spent by March, so racing ahead, desludging ponds, putting extra pipes in Twizel. Probably David can update a bit more on that, and Fairley. And I'm not sure what's happening in Tekapo, but all the towns are getting some of this money spent, as it needs to be spent. It's part of the infrastructure, and there's been a lot of focus to actually get it spent. So I think things are going very well from a council point of view, and we've taken Angela on now for a 15-month contract. Very proud to have her on board as our CEO. She's no longer acting, she is the CEO. And other than that, I think we're in a pretty good position. It's just the COVID thing that's sort of underhanging everything at the moment. Thanks.
And Graham, progress on the LTP, long-term plan?
The LTP is over the line, so we've done that. So very pleased. It was late, but at the end, I think it's a pretty good result. We managed to get a rate rise in for all of you that pay rates, but I'm sure it was in line with your expectations, and we need to deliver on your expectations. So the two balances, and I thought hopefully the district will be happy. But it is quite progressive, and I think it will, although we could have doubled the rates and still never had enough money, the council is seriously looking at strategies, ways of kind of improving what we've got and what we're making out of it. Like, we do have a lot of investments, and we would like to commercially grow them as well. Not so much as subsidise rates from that point of view, but to subsidise the feel-good, look-good things that we can do in this district to help our communities.
Thank you, Graham. Dave, is there anything you wanted to add from your side?
Well, I'd just add is that Graham is getting closer. I think there were 6 community cases in Christchurch today, so it is creeping down the country. A couple of things, the district plan review is about to kick off for the workshop with council to get down to the nitty-gritty in February, or we are in February this month. So that's happening. And then the big other project that Graham's been pretty much working on is Te Manahuna, which is around the new visitor destination management strategy, which is taking a lot of resource, and hopefully we get something that's absolutely riveting, inspiring, and basically gives us a good vision for going ahead. So yeah.
Aspirational's the word, David.
Aspiration?
Aspirational. Inspirational.
Oh, I thought you said aspirational. Very good, thank you. So anything else in the journal from the rest of the team?
Yes, just Brian's still there. I've been approached by a homeowner who lives, they have a holiday house at 33 Lochinvar. There is a very small piece of land in front of their property, which apparently is council land, which is very, very overgrown. And I'd imagine it's a bit of land that's probably not known that it's actually council land. Could we get Whitestone to get down there and weed it? It's quite obvious where the council area finishes and the homeowner's land starts, because there is a concrete wall or stone wall. So would we be able to get Whitestone down there as soon as possible to tidy that up? She has put some requests through the council, but yeah, it's probably gone into the cyberspace, I don't know. But if we could get that done, that would be much appreciated.
Yes, certainly we can check that out. Yep.
Thank you.
So there was 33 Lochinvar.
33 Lochinvar.
Yep, okay.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Shaz. So what we might do now is move on to item 5.8, the community board action list. Just review those actions. So I'm on page 46 of the agenda. And just moving to the next page, the first action, Tekapo Western Car Park. Again, there was conversations and discussions around signage. I think we'll just leave that action open until we've met with Joni and determined what still needs to be done. The next matter, Tekapo bus shelter, we've just kept that on the action list for visibility, but obviously just on hold at this time, so no discussion required on that one. Tekapo walkway from Simpson Lane to the main car park.
That falls under the
long-term
that falls under the boss.
Yeah.
Miskel stuff.
Off Miskel. So I think Dave suggested last meeting we just include that in the next long-term plan.
We should take that off.
So Eileen,
excluded the bottom of the plan.
So it was excluded, yes, you're right. Brian, can you remember with the buffer Miskel plan, that walkway was excluded, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, it was a number of issues or reasons for that, but so it was a bit outside the brief, so we're just taking that out for the time being.
Right, so it's excluded from the buffer Miskel, but the suggestion from Dave is to include in the long-term plan, as opposed to the buffer Miskel plan.
But the long-term plan's completed, so we don't know if it's there or not.
Dave, if you can update.
Basically, we need local funding for it, obviously, so we don't have enough funding in the buffer Miskel part of it. So what I'm suggesting is that you put a submission through for the next long-term plan. I'm sure we've got an estimate for it somewhere that we'll be able to give you an estimate for what it costs, and we just put it up as a future project at the, like I say, at the next long-term plan.
So just in terms of the process there, Dave, what does that look like from a community board perspective? Just a supporting email to yourself?
Yeah, I think at the last one, or maybe at the annual plan, we have, what we're trying to do with our long-term plan is to come and have a discussion with you prior to us pulling together the long-term plan, rather than you at the last minute adding additional items. So I'm hoping for the next round we might get a better timing so that you are part of some of those local projects, become part of the formation of the long-term plan, so the community can have a say of, yeah, we like this project, we don't like that project, because at the moment they don't get a say on those local projects. So I'm hoping the timing will be better, and we will run a workshop with you just to try and identify what are your priorities. I would say, I'll guarantee your priorities. We probably can't afford all of what you'd like to do, but it would at least give us a list of what you would like to do and how you would rank one above the other. So it would give the council some direction on that. So I'm hoping that we might have that discussion maybe November this year, and then it would feed into the long-term plan, the next long-term plan. So yeah, whether you just pass it there.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to ask you to keep that on the action list, because I'm just concerned that we lose visibility of that in the absence of anywhere else to park that matter right now. So can we just keep that on the action plan?
And maybe we make the officer yourself chairman of the board.
That's right, because that could well change after the election as well. Yep.
Yeah, and I just heard David say there'll be absolutely no chance of anything happening this year.
Correct. Right, so
even though that was something that was asked for 3 years ago.
I think we clearly said when we did the walk around that we just didn't have the money, and we, I'm sorry, I can't spend things that we don't have the money, and I thought reasonably discussed it when we did have that walk around. So, basically I've got to find the money somewhere, and so this is a mechanism that I would be suggesting that you could get it funded.
Mm.
And without wanting to add further grist to the mill, we're not, from the staff perspective, we're not sure that it's the best solution. I know you're very keen to make this happen. I know Scott's concerned about it. We've got some concerns about this being the best option, so I think we just need to explore that more, then look at what it actually might cost, which hasn't been costed yet. So we could work on developing a costing. It's a slightly difficult one. I think we need some more work.
So Brian, you're aware of the concerns from a council perspective on that one that we could perhaps discuss on our walk around?
I think Scott's been involved. Scott's been involved with it for a lot longer than I have, and it's possibly best that we, have a good discussion with Scott's involvement and his perspective as well. And what the other solutions might be. I'm not fully aware of, the history of it and all the other options. myself, but I just know it's, yeah, we're not convinced that it's the best solution. Sorry, yeah.
Possibly a way forward, Mr. Chairman, is you could ask me for a report on it, outlining the potential costs, the pros and the cons, and alternative options if there were alternative options, and ask for that report in time for the long-term plan. I won't be able to get it to you, straight away. We've got a whole pile of capital programs we'd like to deliver, but providing you put it in time for that long-term plan, then you could make that decision. How does that sound?
Sounds like a good plan to me, Dave. Thank you. So, Arlene, could you actually minute that request, please?
Yes, I will do.
Thank you. Right, next item, the Makatua Reserve on Diashak Drive. Obviously, all work in motion, so that's all happening as we speak, and we still understand that completion somewhere around end of February, March, Brian. Is that still what we're aiming for?
Probably more likely March, April, realistically. From the supply of goods and things, it's everything's slow at the moment. But yeah, over the next few months, certainly before the winter sets in, we'll want to have planting done and grass resown and things. So shouldn't be too many issues with that.
Very good. Any questions on that one? Okay, moving on. The Tekapo Hall we've discussed, and at this stage the only outstanding matter is custodian. So that, again, let's keep that on the action list, please, Arlene, so we have visibility of that, and hopefully by next meeting we'll have that matter dealt to.
Does it need an update to say the only outstanding matter is custodianship or management of the hall?
Yeah, because I think you did right, because I think, Arlene, we've dealt with obviously the electronic management system, electronic access is dealt with, but I think the booking system, the booking calendar, will be part of the custodian, won't it? Because they'll probably determine the best way forward.
Because the restocking is completed as well.
Yeah, so we could just update that, please, Arlene, that the only matter there is really related to custodian and booking system.
The booking system's a council-wide project, really, that we need to sort for all the halls and parks. But again, it's one of those ones on the list. Yeah, we'll hopefully get to sometime this year, I'm hoping now, but yeah.
Very good, thank you, Brian. Right, the Checkerboard proposed sports facility shares, you've given us a bit of an update there as well, and I've forwarded some of the historical information through to Dave from the previous conversations we had when we met with Mark Samways and the team at the time. Tekapo rabbit control. Dave, that one was with you, was it? With discussions with ECAN?
I have raised it with ECAN. I must admit, I've got a lot of pushback that they're sort of pushing it back onto the property owners. I said I'd raise it at the Timokahi meeting, and I'm still going to, but the Timokahi meeting got cancelled because of COVID. I was meant to have one, I think, last week. I'm not sure. I don't think there's another one now programmed till March, but I think keep it on there. There's certainly, you've got your fair share of rabbits up there. I think we need to do something. You seem to have a higher density of population of rabbits, at least that I've seen, rather than any other place in the basin. So I think keep it in there. I will try and advocate for ECAN to make a more proactive, a better strategy to try and deal with rabbits throughout the whole basin. So yeah, leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Right, Tekapo bike stands we've spoken to already. We'll just keep that on the action list until it's actually been implemented. Pioneer Drive landscape work. So Brian, again, that's probably when we do the walkabout to discuss the safety concerns across the road. Perhaps we can tackle that at the same time. Does that suit you, Brian?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It does actually remind me, I agreed to tidy up as a sort of small triangle down there between the Church of the Good Shepherd and the dog statue, and the sort of the path and the road. Whitestone could have suggested tidying that up somewhat so they can mow and maintain it better, which I'd agreed to. I meant to put it on the agenda, sorry, but I'd slipped my mind. So that should be happening. And that's, I guess, the sort of thing we wanted to do, just to figure out how we maintain that roadside reserve from the Church of the Good Shepherd right down to the start of that Pioneer Drive road. And yeah, it's a bit messy, to say the least.
Yeah, so the request there, Brian, is could we aim to do that walkabout before the next community board meeting?
Yeah, we'll organise that.
Thank you.
Can I just make a note that the pathway has been tidied up between the bund and the church and the pathways, and it looks really good. Thank you.
Yes, thanks to Vin's Contracting for doing a really good job there, I have to say. It's really nice, thank you.
Good work. Right, the cameras we've discussed. I think the only thing we need to do there, Arlene, is just allocate that action into Joni, because that's still sitting with Dave. And Dave, thanks for your support there as well and the work that's been done in the background. Tekapo Ringing Crescent upgrades, we've spoken to that matter as well, and Joni's given us a report on that. Just wondering, that can probably be, I think that can be removed from the action list. So Aline,
like a plan.
The Tekapo Ringing Crescent upgrade, let's remove that. So one more down. The request from Tekapo Trails to develop a trail on the unformed road. TJ spoke in support of that last meeting. Was that with council to consider any considerations?
Yes, that's correct. Just to go to the Services Committee, which is in a couple of weeks' time, just to confirm that decision. So we'll get that on the agenda, and that should tick that off. Assuming that they'll kind of rubber stamp your agreement to it.
Very good, thank you for that. The Tekapo Township furniture, I believe we've dealt to that, and we've all agreed on the style of furniture moving forward. So Brian, thank you for your and your team's work on that. Let's Arlene, let's remove that from the action list. Is there any new actions that need to be added to the action list? We've covered? No. Right, so that's the action list done and dusted. The rest of the items in the agenda and minutes are just minutes from the previous meeting. So at this stage, is there anything else that anybody would like to raise prior to this meeting? Right, Maz, anything from your side, Marie? No, all good. Right, so again, massive thank you to all for your attendance and involvement today. It's been a pretty beefy agenda with the presentation, but we made it with only 2 minutes over time, so great effort by all, thank you. Thank you all for your attendance, your support, and we continue to look forward to working with you all. Have a great week, Phil, and stay safe.